Hey, what's up people, it is Reaper Raider here, and today we're coming back with another video on Mortal Kombat 1. Today we're going to be talking about one of the modes in the game, the Invasions mode. More specifically, I want to talk on some of the ways to improve this mode, because at its core, I think it has a lot of potential, but there's also a lot to be desired. It's not perfect in its current state, and it is one of the ways that you unlock a lot of skins and other cosmetic items for characters in the game. So it's not even really a choice to play, it's more of a thing that you're gonna have to do anyways, so I figured they might as well make it a little better. The first way I want to see this game mode improved is the speed. If you notice, I have on screen right now how long it takes for my character to walk from tile to tile or space to space, whatever you want to call it, and it's quite slow. I think they should up that speed. It's pretty slow, it kind of drags the pace down, and at the end of the day, what you really want to be doing is getting in the fight, getting in the action. You don't want to be spending a ton of time walking around. And what makes this worse is that it's one thing when you're just walking from one space to the other, but if you want to backtrack and go do something you've already done, you're gonna have to walk through 20, 30, possibly more spaces, and when you're doing it at this slow pace, it just feels really annoying. The second way I can see this being improved is adding a map. I can't believe that at launch there wasn't already a map. It makes it super inconvenient, say when I watch a tutorial on what spots to grind XP, which I have done. This is a real example, by the way. I have to track down and guess kind of where the exact space that I need to grind is located, rather than just look at a map and be like, oh, there it is, and then walk straight there. And with this map, I think one of the key features should be an ability to teleport. I don't like the current teleport system. You can only go to a shop or a forge, and there's usually only 2 of those per map, and these maps can get kind of long sometimes, so it doesn't put you quite to where you need to be. And on top of that, I don't know if this is intentional or not, but it doesn't even put you at the correct shop most of the time. I thought that the basis for it would be that the last shop you visited is where you'll teleport when you want to do that. That's not the case. I'm pretty sure it's just random, because I've had one time where I went to a shop, bought some items or sold some items, whatever, and then I walked like 4 or 5 spaces away, and I'm like, oh, I'll just teleport back. And it put me all the way back to one of the shops that I visited at the beginning of the map. It was super frustrating. The third way I'd like to see this mode improved is by adding some more variety. Once you've done a few of the things in the first tutorial little world, you've pretty much seen it all. They've got single fights with an enemy in their cameo. They've got endurance fights, which is like 3 fighters all with low health, which again, that's pretty much just the same thing as the first one, except these guys typically don't get a cameo, so it's even easier. There's classic towers to complete. Usually they only go up to about 4, I think, every time. And then there's Test Your Might, which really isn't a challenge ever, and it only takes like, I think, 10 seconds tops per Test Your Might. And then one of the unique ones that I actually found pretty cool, but once again just gets stale after you've done it for the 5th time, is the survival little mode that they have, which is where it sends a bunch of projectiles and you have to like duck and jump to avoid them. The only problem with this mode is I find it to be way too easy. Like, I think you'd actually have to try if you wanted to lose, to be honest. I've had run-ins with this mode where I felt like I probably should have lost due to the amount of mess-ups I had, and I was only at like half health. So they give you a lot of leeway with that, and that'll kind of tie into one of my points that I'll get into later on. But yeah, at the end of the day, I really just do think that they need some more variety. Even the boss fights, it kind of feels like once you fought one, you fought them all. The basic gist is that you have a lot of time, they have 3 health bars, and they have super armor. The fourth way that I'd like to see Invasions mode improved is I'd like them to do away with the ambush system. I don't like it. It's literally the exact same thing as a wild Pokemon encounter, but the only thing that's cool about wild Pokemon is you can actually catch them and add them to your team. There's no sort of way to do that here, and I wouldn't want there to be anyways. All it serves to do is annoy the player, and you can even buy consumables, which again is the equivalent to a repellent from Pokemon games, and that makes it so that you don't get ambushed for 20 spaces. Well, 20 spaces is not that far, so they should either add an item that makes it for like 200 spaces and make it more expensive, or in my opinion, I think they should just get rid of it as a whole and just increase the length of the maps. I think that's the only reason ambushes are here. It's to add more time and give you something more to chew on as you're playing. However, they're not fun. They're very boring. They're just like any other fight, and they could remove them tomorrow and I just simply wouldn't care. What I'd like them to do is just increase actual content and get rid of little filler things like that. The fifth way I'd like to see them improve is by adding some character-specific mesas. Mesas are like the worlds within the Invasions mode that you get to explore, right? And to me, Invasions mode is very similar to Injustice 2's multiverse system, right? Where you go into a world, you explore, and then you get some stuff, usually gear, in this case, usually like cosmetics or gear pieces, whatever, right? And in Injustice 2, they had a lot of character-specific worlds, and when you played them, they would usually make you play as that character, and you'd unlock gear for that character. Now, the way I'd like to see it done this time around and have it be different from Injustice 2 is instead of just having them on a rotational basis and they come and go, I'd like to see them have permanent mesas for each and every single character that you can play as, and those don't rotate, they're not seasonal, they're just in their own thing. That way, if I'm playing as, say, Sindel, like I like to do, I can go into Sindel's specific mesa, I could only play as her, and I'd unlock gear specifically for her. Because when I'm playing through the game, and I keep getting skins for Geras and for Lee May, well, I don't really play as those characters, so that's basically worthless to me. The sixth way I could see them improving is by increasing the usefulness of consumables and talismans and relics. The only relic I use is the one that increases XP gain. I almost never use talismans. The only time I've ever done it was in the tutorial and then to try to get some trophies later on. And then consumables, the only ones I really use there are the keys to open chests because I want to unlock more gear. And the ones that are like permanent stat increases, which I never even go through the trouble of buying. It's just if I have them, I'll use them. Other than that, I was able to, with ease, complete almost every single thing in the Invasions mode. And keep in mind, I'm not that great of a player. This is my first Mortal Kombat game, and I'm very casual. If I, at a very casual level, do not need to use the consumables to play the game, then why are they there? It makes the entire shop system, forge system, the drop system, the money system, everything, every system, worthless. If I don't need to use it, of course I'm not going to. I don't struggle already. Why would I waste the extra time? The seventh way I could see this improving is if they added more puzzles and clues and things like that. That was actually one of the highlights for me as I was playing through the mode. Now granted, most of them I did look up, of course, because I'm not going to sit through and try to problem solve the entire time. But I did like that even though I had to look it up, I still had to complete the tasks, and it really switched things up and gave a new variety. For example, I was walking over a space and it said clue and it had the words hat trick and it was like misspelled or backwards or whatever. And what you had to do to complete that was to use Kung Lao as your cameo and then perform his fatality, right? So that meant that game I had to switch up the cameo I use, which is usually Sonya Blade, and I had to use Kung Lao and then do his fatality at the end. So it switched up that fight for me and it made things feel a little fresh. And I think in the future too, they could add some more complex clues. So instead of just switching your cameo or fighter and doing a fatality, they could have like combinations, like maybe use Rain and use Kung Lao, and then use these type of moves 10 times each. Like they can make it real complicated if they wanted to. The eighth thing that I didn't really enjoy, and this might just be a me thing or a nitpick so to speak, but I didn't like the armor system on the enemies. There's a lot of times where my move should have connected and didn't, simply just because the enemy had armor, and usually they'd get a quick hit on me, and then I'd bounce back and hit them with a combo next turn. But again, all it really did was serve to slow things down. It didn't ever really make it that much more challenging, at least in my opinion. So I'd be fine if they just did away with that as a whole. And now this point kind of ties into what I said before about increasing the usefulness of like talismans and things like that, but I think a difficulty setting could really help this mode. For one thing, they kind of have it set so that even the most casual of casual players can get through the entire thing with ease, right? That makes any hardcore veteran of fighting games or Mortal Kombat as a whole not have to struggle at all. It makes me, who's slightly above just the average noob who just bought his first fighting game, also not have to struggle at all. And because so many people aren't having to struggle, a lot of people aren't interacting with the game's other features like talismans, relics, consumables, that sort of thing. If they make it so easy, nobody's going to want to use that stuff. So I think a good fix so that you can keep the casual players happy and keep the professional players happy is just add a difficulty setting to the thing. I mean, there's difficulty settings for every other mode in the game. Why is there not one for this? But with that being said, I am going to end the video here. If you guys enjoyed the video, please hit the like button, as it truly does help my channel a lot. If you want to see more in the future, hit the subscribe button and leave a comment below. What do you guys think of the Invasions mode, and do you guys have any ways where you'd like to see it improve? Thanks for watching, and I will see you guys in the next one. Peace.